Welcome back to another FulCom coffee break. I really appreciate all the students who filled out the form for me last week on your heroes, your history, your heartbreak, your hopes. Reading through those has been absolutely wonderful. Today I want to talk about something that is not, it's just not a fun topic. It's just not. One of the things that I'm trying to do with these videos is that occasionally I will talk to my teachers, but I want my students and parents to hear what I'm saying to the teachers. And sometimes I'm going to talk to students, and I want teachers and parents to hear what I'm saying to students. And then there are times when I'm going to be talking to parents, but I want the teachers and students to hear what I'm saying to parents. I want there to be transparency in what we're doing. And so this is one of those times when this is not a fun topic, but we're going to talk about it anyway. I remember when my kids were small, and we had a fenced-in backyard, and we bought a swing set. And my kids loved that swing set. They loved it. They stayed on it all the time. But I remember pulling it out of the box, looking at all the pieces and thinking to myself, how hard can this be? So I didn't bother to read the manual. And as a result, when I put all of the leg pieces together with the big bar that goes across the top and stood it up, I had almost everything backwards, and I could not fit any cross pieces in to give it support, and I couldn't attach there was a little kind of a seesaw kind of thing with seats on both ends. You probably remember those swing sets. That wouldn't fit. And I realized I got to take it all apart and start over. And then I got out the manual and saw exactly where I went wrong. And so today I want to talk to students specifically, but parents also, about the Student Handbook. It is not a fun document. It's just not. It's a lot of gobbledygook about stuff that most of the time you don't care anything about, and certainly you don't read it for a grade, and you don't have to memorize it, and so why bother? Well, there's a few things. The biggest reason is because you're going to be held responsible for what's in it, whether you read it or not. So there are things in there that, even if you only hit the highlights, there are some things in there on what we used to call professional attire. We've sort of moved away from that, but it's still labeled that. We call it dress code. And the fact that FulCom students, the upper garment that you wear, like this shirt, has to be black. It has to be predominantly black. And I happen to have, if I were to take this shirt off, I also have a black t-shirt. So that even if I took this shirt off, my outer garment is still predominantly black. And that's the biggest piece of the dress code. That's it. If you're wearing a hoodie and that's your outer garment, it needs to be predominantly black. If you're wearing a jacket and that's your outer garment, it needs to be predominantly black. If you're wearing a t-shirt or a shirt or a sweatshirt or a sweater, whatever that upper garment is, needs to be predominantly black. Pretty simple. Everything else goes by the Knox County Schools dress code for high schools. And there's a link in the Student Handbook for you to read that. So you will know in the Student Handbook that house shoes are not allowed. It's pretty simple. But you only know that if you read the Student Handbook. The bell schedule is in there, so you know when to be in class and how much time you have between class, and you also know when lunches start and stop, so whatever lunch you have, you know when you're supposed to be back in class. And I would highly recommend, as I have when I talk to students in person, that you learn during lunch to go to the bathroom during lunch, not when it's over. We want you back in class. You need to be in class from the time it starts to the time it ends, and the disruptions that you have that take you out of that class should be very, very minimal. So the bell schedules are in there. Our Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, what we call the regular day bell schedules are there. The Wednesday bell schedule is there. If we're on a 2-hour delay, that schedule is there. If we're on a 1-hour delay, that schedule is there. Everything's there. The only thing that's not included is when we do state testing, and then it's fruit basket turnover. So dress code and the bell schedule. Also, the results of certain discipline activities are in there. And I want to make sure that our parents know what I've already told our students. We have two things that well, actually three things. Let's say three things that predominantly are the largest numbers of referrals to an office at our school. One is the student's out of dress code. One is the student is excessively tardy. And one is that the student is creating either some type of disruption in the class or not complying with what the teacher has asked the class to do. Those two kind of get lumped together. Those are the things that predominantly get sent to the office. And in all of those things, what we have set up this year, and we'll talk about this more in another video, but what we've set up this year is we want to start with a conversation. That's it. We want that student to meet with our restorative interventionist, who we have one now in every SLC, who can ask questions about, what's going on? How are you feeling? Why are you doing this? What can we do differently in the future? How can we overcome this so that this is not a recurring problem? And then that student will not go back to the class they got sent out of, but they will be either put in dress code, or if the interventionist decides that their attitude has improved, they can go to the next class and finish out the day. They don't stay in detention. They don't stay in ISS. They go back to class. If that student gets sent to us a second time for the same problem, then the restorative interventionist will be making a phone call to mom or dad or whoever is the primary legal guardian of that student, and they will have a conference over the phone with the student. And the third time that happens, it starts to branch off and different things happen, and it's all in the student handbook as to what those are. But ultimately, it comes down to meeting with me, and I have some decisions to make. One is I can put kids in RLC for the rest of the day or for a half a day. I can put them in our alternative to suspension program for a day or 2 days, or I can send them home out of school. And it sort of goes in that order of where we are. Hopefully by the time we get to the first or second conversation with the interventionist, that issue is not going to be a problem anymore. That's our hope. And I operate sort of on the old 80-20 principle. 80% of our difficulties come from 20% of our students. That pretty much holds true. But if I can resolve 80% of those with just a conversation and only have to deal with 20% of that small fraction of students, that means I'm only dealing with probably 10 kids all year long. And that would be wonderful. So students, read the handbook. You'll find it in Canvas. You will find a link, I think, on our school webpage. I'm asking teachers to put it in every Canvas course so that it is somewhere close by where you can find it. If it is updated through the year, sometimes the Knox County school system asks us to include something else in the handbook. If it gets updated through the year, I will make sure you get notified what has been updated, what page it's going to be on, so that you can go in and look at it and know exactly where we're at. It is the driving force that guides what we do, the student handbook. I hope you'll read it. I hope that you will pay attention to it and understand it, because the one thing that I don't want to happen when a student comes to my office is, I didn't know. Well, yeah, you did. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.